Now, in a way, isn't it predictable that Dame Alison Rose, will have to come out and admit that she is sorry for the information that she apparently gave Simon Jack. It turns out that it really was her, as everybody was suspecting. Nat West admits a serious error over Farage. She said that she thought that what she had said, she believed was in the public knowledge. She had spoken to Simon Jack. Well, we can all make that sort of mistake, I suppose, but then we're not all the senior person in NatWest with a responsibility for Coots. The interesting bit about this story is NatWest says it has full confidence in her. Well, that's like the kiss of death, isn't it? I remember Mrs. Thatcher saying that Nigel Lawson's position was unassailable in October 1980, when was it, 1987, 1988 or something? And that led, it would be 1989, wouldn't it? And that led to her downfall 13 months later. There was also another thing that Mrs. Thatcher said at that time. Advisers advise, ministers decide. We could modify that expression, couldn't we? We could say bankers serve, customers bank. And I think it would be right for Dame Alison Rose to reflect on that fact and stop getting on her high horse. I think it's now time for her to recognise that a proper apology comes with a commitment that is credible, and that commitment, the only possible commitment she can now make, is to restore Mr. Farage's bank accounts. As I say, I have no great fondness for Mr. Farage. We have lots of conversations that are unfinished and that should be finished at some time in the future. And until that happens, I would reserve judgment on whether or not Mr. Farage is a nice man or whatever. But and in some ways, I don't care. But I think this is about a principle, and a principle is an apology which is just words, is just words. And particularly at this level. If she was just some footling individual who's made a mistake, well, fine, we accept the apology. But she's not some footling individual who's made a mistake. She's a person who is in charge of a bank, and not just any bank. She's a person who's in charge of the Royal Bank, the bank that the Queen used. Come on, this is just disgraceful. I'm sorry, she says. I'm sorry, I got it wrong. I was wrong, she said. Well, that's fine. She was wrong. So put her hand in her pocket and restore the bank account.